Hey guys, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Advisory Board podcast where we bring in the experts in franchising to share their wisdom and advice and actionable feedback so you can make your franchise operate optimally. And I've got with me somebody who's just I've always loved, and you probably do too. And if you don't know her, then shame on you. You probably should. And she would never say that, but I can. Is Sherri Fishman. And if you don't know Sherri, she's founder and are you still the CEO at Fishman PR?
I actually just changed my title. So excited about it. Working more um, on the business than in the business. Chief Visionary Officer.
Oh wow, great spot
Hmm.
for you. I know.
Great title, huh?
Yeah, and it's a great fit. And also, I mean, chief strategy officer, you can put any title on that because
Hmm.
you guys, Sherri's been kind of a visionary. Like she got an early start in PR and just happened to be working for a guy that was an awesome, like focused on franchising. So she learned the ropes and then wanted to do it a little bit differently and started Fishman PR in 91. So we won't do the math for you, but she started that when she was 11, just so you know. And but she has just got a wealth of knowledge and she's a true giver. I'll just say that in the space. Anyone in the industry can walk up to her and they can get 5 minutes of her time and she'll be gracious and she'll give them insights. And I've always appreciated and respected that about you, Sherri. And it's why you earn international awards like the Bobby Levine Award, right, at IFA. That was a
Thank you.
neat moment, but it's well deserved. And as
Thank
many
you.
headlines as she's landed for people in major trade publications, she doesn't read her own headlines, and I love that about you. So
Thank you.
tell, if you don't mind, Sherri, tell us a little bit more about just for people who are listening, Fishman PR, and maybe a couple of the things about you that they might not know, and then we'll jump into our topic today.
So, started Fishman PR in 91, and it has evolved over time. Obviously, we specialize in national consumer and business media relations, content marketing, strategic content marketing for franchise development, social, and we really work very closely with franchisees. We have an extensive grand opening program as well.
Mhm.
And we love what we're doing and love how we're involving, how it's just what we have now is great, but what is going to happen is even going to be even better.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt
Yeah.
to have Brad and Zach and Jake, helping like to, and especially Zach has been so involved. But
Yeah.
love seeing
Yeah.
you see his fingerprint on stuff, and some of the cool
Yeah.
new strategies. I love that about what you guys.
Yeah, and it that we could talk forever about the family and business and the
Yeah,
husband and wife team, but I have to give complete credit to our president, Deborah Vilches,
yeah.
who has been with us. It'll be 26 years. So she's the
Oh,
third leg on the stool when Zach was, Zach was very little when she came on board. So it
yeah.
is very cool to see them together, all of us and our executives team working together. But she's the glue. We're all holding it together. She's part of the family.
She is so great too, because she is embarrassed if anyone ever tells her how awesome she is. She's like, "Oh my gosh, stop it!" Like she's just great.
Yeah.
Two peas in a pod, I guess, with you.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
she bringing up Deb makes me think this is really kind of the topic. There's something special about franchising. There are a lot of special things about it. Not
Hmm.
short bus special, but like special, right? Like this is there's a culture and a community in franchising among women that is very unique. I'll just say that where it goes way beyond just like, hey, we're friends that go out and get a cocktail together at the events. There's true mentorship and love and compassion and coaching and like it's not even like this super formalized thing. But it's becoming more structured. And so what we want to talk today about is like how has this happened? Because other industries should take note. And those of you who are women or have women on your teams in any capacity in your franchising, you need to tap into this because it's a superpower of this industry. So, Sherri, maybe you could introduce that a little bit and share like women have started to take a more and more prevalent role in leadership in franchising, even in IFA and the top. I tune in a lot to what's happening in the franchise legal world. Well, at IFA, we have women leading the discussion around legal, which in most other industries isn't happening, right? So, tell us like what have you observed? You've been in this industry for a while. How do you think this has started to happen?
Well, I think that when it comes to it, it is, I think that it's supported by the franchisors
Mhm.
because they, as entrepreneurs, they're giving, and I think it's the entrepreneurial spirit that kind of opens their mind and breaks barriers for women. It gives them a chance because they need that chance and because they're so busy working in all other things. And one thing that we have as women is we're great at multitasking and details.
Mhm.
And we're also have, we do have that inherent trait of being nurturing and understanding how important it is to be detailed in the training.
Yeah.
So we cover so much, but yet we don't always, as you said before, always want to take the front seat for everything or take credit for everything. So what I've found through, it's so proud to see, when I look at
Mhm.
the presidents and CEOs and I look and I get my LinkedIn updates on people being promoted or new hires and I see, wow, I remember when she just came in as a marketing director and now she is running a fund for Riverside. That was Meg Roberts. I remember meeting her when she was at Molly Maid. Okay,
Yeah.
and look where she is now. Look what she's doing. And then I see, I have, I'm very lucky, right? Very lucky and surrounded by so many incredibly successful women in franchising. And that goes from franchisees, powerhouses like Tam Kennedy from Taco John's,
Mhm.
who is a huge advocate for franchising and goes in Washington, D.C. and but she was just an administrative assistant for her boss, and there she goes. And she's a multi-unit franchisee. She's a coach for franchisees, right? There are so
Mhm.
many examples. And why? Because franchisors aren't closing their eyes to it.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
keeping that option open. And it's all the success stories that happened before
Yeah.
is perhaps the reason why they're doing it. So, and I'm always thinking about who could be in that position. When people talk to us and when they want to hire people.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I love it.
Yeah, I've given Zach a call before. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna hire. Who do you recommend? Who do you know? Like it's because you're hyper connected. But I love what you're saying. I want to go back to something because I see it a lot. And we want to talk about why and then how do you get involved and all these other great things too. But I've seen in this industry, like the very first event I ever went to, Kathy Munson's up on stage, right? She's leading
Hmm.
the discussion. And then there were other folks that had panels of bright women and there tend to be a lot of women who lead and there are a couple of really great brands where is it IHOP? I get it mixed up where the CEO was a server to start
Hmm.
and
Julia.
isn't it IHOP? Julia?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I mean, but these things are not super uncommon. Monica Rothgary, if you know her, she was just an assistant, manager at a Taco Bell, and then she became the COO of KFC. And just uh, anyway, I find that there's a lot of not just tolerance where there's been glass ceilings in like tech and other like Wall Street. There has been this movement, and I think that it's also because the women are not operating alone in this industry. I think there's been a great network, and I'm curious. One, you talked about leadership styles, and I want to talk about that first. But then I also want to talk about like how do we build this community, and like what does the community do actively now, and then how do you, as a woman in franchising or a man in franchise, doesn't matter. Like how do you harness the power and enable and empower like these women that are around you to do more and like what's the best way for leaders to embrace that because I think a lot of folks, I mean myself included, I would love to hear from your perspective how to do that more even in our companies we've grown at it. I think we're 50-50 or more. Like I find that in certain roles women are just way better than guys, and so we tend to look for them specifically. So anyway, let's talk about that one, the first question, which is leadership styles. You hinted at that, but how is it that women lead differently? And even yourself and Deb, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Well, I think that women naturally, and I have to say, and some men too as well. I mean, it's not, but I find there's more empathy in how they lead. And it's also their strength and superpower has to do with enabling and enabling any individual that they work with to really achieve that path towards success,
Hmm.
steering them on to the path, not always telling them what to do, but helping them understand how to make a decision, how to come with a solution-based path to success.
Hmm.
So it's like everything that I do and everything that I tell people is, working in the position you do and taking that initiative. And that's what I find is that if they're in a supportive environment, which you said is very important, being a mentor for many women in franchising has helped me and helped steer others. And it is, how it's happening so well is this community that we live in that we call the franchise, the franchise fam
Hmm.
is is interconnected. There are so many little groups of women, but when you put them all together, they're one big sisterhood
Yeah.
because we have felt the power, we have realized success,
Hmm.
we have been put in the spotlight. Catherine Monson and
Hmm.
Shelley Sun have put us there,
Yeah.
right? But there's also the people who are behind the scenes from the vendor relationships that are also pushing
Hmm.
those people as well. It
Yeah.
is, I found it, I have to tell you, going back to even they die for this connection, whether it's
Hmm.
Maddie Zook for what she's done with those jean jackets and the franchise girl gang.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people know about that, but that was started just with one or two or three, and then it has become it it is legendary what
Hmm.
she's done.
Yeah.
And it's that, well, I don't want to say, I say sisterhood more than sorority, but it's almost like that feeling
Hmm.
that we embrace each other and what we do together. And when we have a hard time, we also help each other get out of the mess. So
Yeah.
we're always problem solving and always caring and keeping ourselves on that path. So important not to um, stop the positivity that we have.
Hmm.
And I think that goes back to the emotional kind of connection that women naturally have.
Yeah.
And but there's a lot of things when I talk about it, and I talk about the differences of how I lead versus how um, how Brad leaves,
Hmm.
it's completely different
Yeah.
because I want to get down there. He's the business guy, and that's the reason why we're so successful. I'm the people, I hate that word, but
Yeah.
I'm more of that, front and center with the people.
Hmm.
I want to connect. I want to know all about what's going on in their life. It's so important because that enriches my life.
Yeah.
And that's why women are memorable in an organization. They're always there, and not all women, but those that are the go-getters
Hmm.
and are the ones that we see on the headlines and in your LinkedIn update are maybe not the ones that talk a lot or but the ones that do it, that get it done and get credit for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, and this isn't universally true, but I've also found working with just powerhouse women that ego isn't the primary driver, right? With a lot of this, you mentioned connection and emotional, like building emotional bonds, and like there's a different dimension there that I mean, just ask Amy, she'll confirm. Sometimes I'm not like, let me be nurturing today. Like I'm like, let's get stuff done and this and that. Like and but you combine the two things together and it becomes super powerful. Like what we've been able to accomplish with our kids or just as a team, right? Being parents. But somebody's got a boo-boo, right? Now our kids are all like, they're all older, so boo-boos don't happen. But if there's something going on and they're upset about something, not all of them, three of the four are going to talk to her first, right? Because they're going to feel that nurturing part. But in business, that's just as important. And I don't want to underplay that at all. Men can be nurturing too. Let's
Of
be,
course they
we're being
can.
inclusive, but it's more natural for
It is,
women.
it is, and I have to say that just kind of how it's happened for me is and why, I've been I when I went on the board for the IFA and it was when Shelley became the chair and one of my very dearest friends, and I'm so lucky to have her as a friend because she always elevates me, not in every conversation, and just she recognizes my talents and and likes to boast about it, which is, quite flattering. But she put me in a position that I've been so passionate about, and it is the chair of the Marketing and Innovation Committee for the IFA.
Yeah,
And working within the IFA, understanding, and those that are listening, I've been part of the IFA, and I worked on behalf of the IFA since I started in PR. I used to do pro bono work when I worked for a PR agency for the World of Franchise Expos. So that was way before the internet, way before anything, right?
yeah.
So it's in my blood, okay? So when I have to think about how can I give back when she gave me that opportunity? And I've had so many different things within the IFA for the supplier board and everything, but doing this chair committee, it's bringing men and women together that have marketing and advertising and social media prowess who want to give back to the community within franchising, the membership. I thought we have our virtual roundtables that I'm giving a plug, and I don't know when this is going to be aired, but it's December 11th. We do our marketing innovation virtual roundtables. But I've been doing this for 9 years. Why? Because I'm able to bring men and women, but let's be honest, marketing is very dominant in women who
Yep.
want to give back
Hmm.
to franchising, to the IFA membership
Hmm.
by providing their thought leadership, by being facilitators for these workshops, by giving their all and helping to shape the convention sessions
Yeah.
for the convention. All of that, I can't tell you how many of those people have been promoted to CEO, taken, they've been swept away by private equity. That it's like amazing. It's like the all-stars of marketing women.
Uh-huh.
And I have to tell you the funniest thing is that there's 5 people within my committee that have a little network themselves
Hmm.
in Michigan.
Uh-huh.
It's all Michigan. They have all these women that are powerhouse women within marketing that are now presidents or senior VPs and have grown that they need their sounding board too. It's all
Yeah.
about it. We like to talk, women.
Hmm.
We love to talk. That's what keeps us going and
Hmm.
keeps us motivated, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that natural tendency to talk and to build network and community and be empathetic, it's a superpower in leadership because you don't have to peel back the layers to be vulnerable, right? And the, a lot of people don't believe this, and they don't, but they're wrong. Like vulnerability is one of the key things to success. When you get to the top, it can be lonely. But if you can have somebody while you're both at the top who can just share ideas and bounce things off each other and call a friend and be like, look, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you like? I do this every like this fall, it's budget season. I'm calling all my friends and saying, hey, how was this conference? What did you think? Did you get ROI? Like I'm asking for my peers to tell me what they think too. And I think that's a superpower with women leaders that a lot of men tend to have a little bit more ego around it. Not always, but sometimes. And so it's harder for them to be vulnerable. And men don't naturally want to congregate and like have conversations, and they're not as social in the same way. And so it is different. And frankly, we should take note and emulate a little more because it's also emotionally a lot more healthy when you don't feel like you're all alone in a CEO role or a president role for a brand. Sometimes you have to always look like you got your crap together. And so you can now have this network of people where you're like, it's not. and I'm scared. And then they can be like, don't worry, me neither. But this is what I did to fix that problem. Can you help me with my problem, right?
Exactly. I have to tell you, during COVID, we had a happy hour, a franchise, uh, women in franchise happy hour that we did on Fridays. And I kept inviting new people. And we'd have and it was female lawyers in franchising, and there was all these different, it wasn't just franchisors, it was franchisees, it was everybody. And I'm telling you that there are now instances of people remembering those people and hiring them. Okay, from that I remember meeting her way back at the franchise women happy hour. It was right? So
Yeah.
it goes back and it totally supports what you just said.
Mhm.
We like to talk. I guess we like to drink too, but yeah,
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 and do both together as well.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
back to the multitasking comment.
Right. You got it.
Yeah, my in my mind, because I'm like a super like I'm a pragmatist in the way I think, sometimes a little more linear than I should. The question keeps coming to my mind. Okay, so what? We know this now. Like, how do we harness this? So if you put yourself in the shoes of any business leader in the industry, like how would you recommend that they start to unlock the potential and the power of the women that work in their organization tomorrow?
I think that looking at the roles, very important to not just be stuck in what roles you have in place for all of your employees. Always looking, I have to tell you, it goes back to how I recruit, and I still recruit. It's one of my favorite things in the world. It's not, it's not what you see in the person that you interview then and the role that they have at whatever present time that they have. It's what they can do for you, what else they can do for you, and what they really want to do. How about asking? Okay.
Yeah.
How about looking and understanding what is missing in the team, what their talents are, and giving them the opportunity to meet that challenge and to take on that extra work. And that is the reason, and it working so perfectly is when I think about my exec team, mostly women,
Mhm.
and women who have stuck with us, thank God, so proud, so incredibly proud and grateful for them. I have Kelly, who's been with us since she graduated college, and, now she's in the C-level, and Sarah, who went through and has been with us for like 16 years. And she was actually in journalism like Deb was before she had a small stint in PR. And Julianne, who was a physical therapist, tech, and was an intern. And she's been with us for like 12 years. And it goes on and on. But it's that superpower of from the employer side. And I guess I got to give myself a little prop, is not just pigeonholing them to what they are doing now, but what they could do, because it is pretty amazing for any employee, not just a woman, but sometimes you might not think that they can handle it because they've got a lot going on. They might have a family, but guess what? They figure it out because they're multitaskers and they want to do it and they got the passion.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And so identifying really where I think it's hard sometimes for people who are super busy because in franchising, there's this myth, right? That everyone outside the franchising believes like, oh yeah, well, they're a franchisor, they got lots of money. No, they don't. Like that's actually the biggest challenge that everyone's dealing with is when you're living off of royalties and hopefully not, but sometimes your franchise fees, you're you're really strapped for cash. And so you need to have multiple people doing multiple things. And it's easy to get into that trap where you say, okay, things are working okay now. I need to go hire somebody outside to do a thing where really you've got the talent in-house that you can say, hey, she's got the capability or he, but don't overlook the people that are on the team today. I think that's super wise advice.
And I think too, and in that vein as well, it's making sure that you recognize who's the right person to manage the outside vendors. That is the whole thing. And many times, um, it's it's actually someone taking the initiative to, put their hand up and say, "I think I should do it." And that's where if that's where many times that's how women that I know have kind of moved their way up, making things work.
Hmm.
You, as far as ops is ops and marketing are like the heart of the brand.
Hmm.
So that's how you actually prove your track record. So, and I think that that is some good advice for people that are looking for ways in which how they can elevate themselves within an organization,
Hmm.
because those two things help a whole lot if you're not in sales. So that definitely helps.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Proactivity is so it is waning in the world, right? As a valued skill or something that people are just naturally doing. And I find that a lot of times, and I don't mean this to be offensive, but Americans, we're a little fat and happy. We have been for years, right? And there's not as much drive with some of the younger generations, not always, but like to be proactive because it hasn't been required of many of them. And so I love the fact that is there's not as much of a glass ceiling, but there still feels like, hey, I don't want to be overlooked. I see women tend to be a lot more proactive in the workplace, and at least the ones that work with me, they sure are, and I love it every time. I'm like, oh, thank goodness, and the guys too. Like, I don't want to diminish guys at all in this conversation,
No,
but with
no.
the podcast, it's like, why are women so successful in franchising, and why is there
Yeah,
such this great leadership group and almost the lady posse, this social organization that's been created, and
yeah.
and I think part of
And
it
I
is.
think, yeah, I think you got it. You've got it. And I think here's the thing too, because I want to give men props. Why? Because they realize that. Okay. And Brad Fishman is number one in that category. He says, she does all the work. Someone's got to have a pretty face, right? So, and you know that I'm just joking with that, but
Right.
he is huge supporter and speaks loudly about how it's important to recognize and elevate no matter no matter what sex they are. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter. It doesn't
Right.
matter. It's the person. It
Hmm.
is the person. But I have to say, is focusing on women, it's the men behind who help as well. So there is a sisterhood, but there is someone that's holding it up, and it is a team effort. So
Yeah.
it's and being a good team player is all part of what we do. We try to do. Um, eh, I think that's one of my traits. I can't say that for every woman or every man, but it is important, I believe, if that's what you're looking for to prove yourself and to move up the ranks, that is all about what we do as females. I must say,
Mhm.
it's all about what's important to us, which is the relationships. It goes back to what's so important. The sisterhood and the relationship there is, in business world, is your posse, but it
Mhm.
also is your clients. It also is your internal team. And it's also the new people that you meet,
Mhm.
those people that you can inspire, educate, and um, truly put on the same path that we are trying to do for ourselves. You're trying to improve their path so they don't make mistakes. It's all about it's all about that educating process. And I just feel really so grateful for being in this world that I live in.
Mhm.
It, I don't know what I would have done. I look back and I don't know what I would have done. I discovered franchising, and I'm influential, but I didn't realize how influential I was, and I got others to love it. And the first one that I got to love, is my love. So that's Brad. It was so weird that he loved it just as much as I did or more. So I
Mm.
got to give props to franchising because we do care. We
Mhm.
really do.
Mhm. Yeah. When I first came to the industry, I saw that franchise fam hashtag floating around LinkedIn. I was like, yeah, BS, blah, blah, blah. But I went to my first couple of events and it started that cynicism melted away pretty quickly because I realized this is a true community and people were looking out for each other. And I saw people staying up late at the elevator at some events to like make sure that his people got in and made it up to their room safely. And like I was just like, this is different, and I would see competitors sitting across the table from each other, giving each other advice, and people like franchisors in the same space saying, "Hey, oh, you're a new painting franchise? Come sit at our table." Like inclusivity, and I don't mean like politicized inclusivity. I mean like truly being inclusive and drawing their circles to include people rather than drawing them
Right.
short to kick people out. It's been, and there's a little bit of cliquishness, like that's just human nature, but
Of
like this
course.
community has been very, very
Yeah.
welcoming. And
Yeah.
I've had people who have been I mean, yourself and Brad included, just being super friendly and inviting me to, like, giving me feedback and
Hmm.
willing to listen. And if I have a question, I know I could call you, and you might not
Yeah.
be able to answer your phone right away, but you'd get back to me, and
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And I have to tell you too, that's why, in addition to our agency, that's why Brad had this brainchild with Lane and others in the industry to just on their free time, on their off moments,
free time,
woo, free time,
yeah,
do these conferences. Who would have thought we'd have this unconference, and you'd also have
board
this
and young
we'd have
conference, yeah,
springboard and young con. Like, who would think, and why? Because they need it. They need that connection. They need to feel included. They need to feel special. They need to figure out problems and
hmm
overcome challenges and have a solution and see things the way it should be,
hmm
and point out things that are wrong and have a plan of what they need to do next and meet people to help them do what they need to do. It's all one can't do it without the other, right? It's just, and there's too much bureaucracy in corporate world to do that. It's just too big.
hmm
And it's small business on steroids in one industry. Okay, so that we're all small business owners to
right,
some extent, right? And we're all, for the most part, many of us entrepreneurs.
hmm
So, and have that entrepreneurial spirit that is the fuel that keeps us going.
yeah, no, it's energizing. It is. I'll never
Yeah.
forget. I was sitting with some clients it was actually at Unconference. It was at Unconference where this happened. But I'm usually there like thinking, how do I help you? How do I give you advice? And one of my clients, who happens to be, it's Aaron Harper. He's like, what do you want, Dave? Like, what are you working toward? And all of a sudden, like, he's asking me, like, well, how do I help you? And like, what are your plans? And it was like this really funny exchange where it was super earnest and honest, and we had a great discussion. And as I was walking back to my room that night, I was like, that's kind of weird, like inverted tables, but it's true to the industry. Like people care about me and my well-being and my family as much as I care about theirs. And circling back to the topic today, like women are, they just have that skill and that natural tendency in spades, which I think makes them great leaders, makes them great employees, great managers, and their ability to multitask plan. Like I lean heavily upon two women in our organization that help me get my ducks in a row a lot. And but there are a lot of women who might feel like they aren't part of the sisterhood yet. And so I want to get your insights. Maybe we can wrap on this thought, Sherry, of like, let's say that's me. I'm obviously I'm not a woman, but I'm new, or I've been in the industry for a little while, and I don't feel like I'm part of the posse. Like, what's
Mhm.
your advice? Like, how would you encourage them to reach out or get connected so they can start to really leverage the power of women in franchising?
Well, you need to go to conferences, and you need to reach out to you can go to I guess the first start would be go to the annual leadership conference I know it's men and women, but there is a ton of women there.
Yeah.
And also reach out to, there's many groups within franchising that you can network within. But I think that most important is kind of look to, um, I think that if you're a franchise within a franchisor organization, I think that you ask about actually going in person. That's number one.
Mhm.
The other thing is, I when you're thinking and you're working with clients, whether you're working as a franchisor and you're working with vendors,
Mhm.
you ask them how they got involved. Do some networking yourself in order to find your path to meet more people. But you'll also find too that it's all relative to those people that are in are actually making connections.
Mhm.
That's the difference. So if you make that effort, you're going to truly have something that is worth your while, as far as someone to hold your hat, someone to walk with to different sessions. I have to say that you meet so many people at roundtables. You meet people at breakout sessions. You meet people, I guess, women talk in the bathroom, putting makeup on or lipstick on. I can't tell you how many people I've met that way, or elevators, but it's all, you have to be there to do it.
Yeah.
We have no excuse now. The other thing too is, I always say, is there people can reach out to me. I can give them suggestions of those people to reach out to. Because I
Mhm.
think that if you're only going to succeed if you mesh with the person that has the same value prop as you or the same interest level. There's people within industries that you can talk to that are maybe competing or related. That'll kind of give you that familiarity that you need to break through. Because I know it's hard for someone who's introverted.
Right. It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Yeah. I'd be happy to walk around with them and introduce them to people, and I think that it's important.
Mhm.
My vision for those new members is for the new members, if they're part of the IFA or if they're a new attendee at Springboard, for them to feel supported and
Mhm.
feel like they have that path and feel like they're getting as much out of it that we want them to get out of the conference. And it's
Yeah.
all done through that mentorship and coaching, just like everything in life. And that's what women are great at,
Mhm.
introducing, not necessarily holding a hand, but holding a hand in a sense,
Mhm. Yeah.
guiding them and making them feel like they have that hug in franchising wherever they are, that it's not so big and daunting. Because
Mhm.
it isn't. It's not big and daunting. It's really small when you think about it,
Mhm.
because you go to one conference, Dave, and the next time you go to the next conference, or you see so many of the same people and they're so excited to see you back. And what have you done lately?
Yeah.
Did you do
True.
this? And they'll remember details. And you're like, oh my God, how do they remember details? How do they remember my name?
Right. Yeah, that's
Right?
true. No, you speak truth. And I remember feeling intimidated when I went to my first event because I'd been in the language industry and then high tech before that. So I came
Mm-hmm.
in as a fresh baby and in this industry, and I literally bumped into Brad, right? Like your husband. And we had that funny exchange where I called him Zach's dad. And then you came over and talked to me. And I didn't realize, and I don't mean this to be pandering, but I didn't realize that you guys were kind of a big deal in France. Like, everybody knew who you were, right? Everybody and I sat next to Bryn and Mark Gibbs, who at the time they were just starting to get their traction in the industry, and we became fast friends. And like, but even if I were brand new now, and I ran into you and Brad now, you would still talk to me and welcome me and
I'm
ask me
so
who I am.
excited.
I
Like,
know.
what are you doing? What's your plan? Where are you at, with your business launch? What
Mhm.
can I do to help you? Who can I introduce you to? Oh, or if you share something that I don't agree with, have you thought about doing another way? I just ran into somebody who did it this way. Here's their name. Why
Mhm.
not? It's all about the networking connections, and it's all about the influence. If you if you have the knowledge, share it. That's, and going back to why this whole focus on women is that's just our nature. We like to talk. We like to share. I'll be honest. Sometimes too many details kind of take up too much time in our executive meeting. And Deb and I could talk forever. So but
Yeah.
it's like
Yes.
sometimes I have to keep it to a
Yeah.
minimum.
And
Yeah.
you're also incredibly organized. So, like in one of the civic groups I work with, I've got a counterpart there, and she has the agenda every time. She's already thought of three new things, and she's got it documented. She brings it, and I'm just like, I'm really a big picture guy. So, like the meshing of those two worlds has been powerful in
Mhm.
that volunteer work that we do. And my advice, because I didn't believe this, but I want to make sure everyone knows this. Like you can approach anyone. You can approach
Anybody.
you can approach Maddie Zook. You can approach Leanne Caruso. You can approach Heather McLeod. You can approach Marcy Kleinsasser. You can approach Mary, right? Like you can approach
Oh,
all
yeah,
these.
Mary Thompson. Oh my God. I met her for so long ago. She is incredibly real. She is not scary at all.
And
Not at all.
she doesn't look scary either, right? But she's just like
No,
people
she's
get
not. She's not
intimidated by her.
intimidating.
No,
No, she's
no.
just so genuine,
Hmm.
so authentic to who she is. And all those women that you mentioned are, they're incredible. I'm blessed to know them. And and anybody who has the opportunity to meet them will agree with me. Will agree with me.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's why I
Yeah,
mentioned it. And
yeah.
that's like my short list. We both have big lists.
Oh yeah,
Right?
I got big lists.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta
So,
add Sherri Sieber to that.
oh, 100%. I
Oh,
love that.
100%. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
100%.
and then like Karen Wenning and like
Yeah,
this goes on.
yeah. Oh my
So
God, it'll go on forever.
and we don't have time for that. That could be a whole podcast.
I
Let's name drop
I
all the
know.
people that are
Oh
awesome.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Sherri, I know we're wrapping up here, but thank you for your time. And if
Of
somebody wanted
course.
to reach out to you, aside from obviously being present at a conference, right? But what's the best way for someone to reach out to you if they feel like they want to connect and maybe have you give them some advice?
Absolutely through LinkedIn is the best place. I'm there all the time. I'm pretty vocal, but not as vocal as Zach.
That's
But
okay. All right.
talked about a ton about it with Zach's post, but absolutely. Or you know what? You can email me as well. I I try my best to be very timely in my response, and I will definitely book time
Mhm.
with anybody who has a question.
Yeah. Well, I knew you would. I knew you'd say that, and I appreciate that about you. Guys,
Absolutely.
well, one of the gems in the industry. I know I'm pointing the wrong way
Thank
because
you.
of this mirroring thing, but Sherri, thanks for your time. You're always so gracious with it. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon, if not sooner at Unconference and IFA. But
Yep.
appreciate you and your family and the influence you've had for good in this industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.